Welcome back, listeners, to the Nice to Meet You podcast. This is your host, your girl, Lynette. In 2021, I hope it's starting off on a high note for everyone, but today, I don't know how I feel about that, but I hope everyone is feeling good and doing good. And so this is season 2, episode 12. And today, I always say I have a treat. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Kiana, who is the host of the podcast Discussions with Key. Kiana is from Ohio, and her podcast is all about helping people through the trials of today's society. She discusses her journey and how she became an entrepreneur, relationships, mental health, wealth, success, spirituality, politics, and so much more. She not only discusses the trials and tribulations of life, but she also provides ways to overcome. Join in with me in welcoming Kiana, aka Key, to the Nice to Meet You podcast. We are so excited that you have taken time out of your day to speak with us.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
No problem, no problem. And so, before we get into the conversation, I just had to ask you about the craziness that's going on in Capitol Hill and Washington D.C. And what are your thoughts about it? Have you had a chance to look at the news? Well, that's a crazy question. What do you think about what's going on in Capitol Hill?
I just think it's ghetto. Like, it's crazy because when like the Black Lives Matter protest was happening, everybody was calling us thugs,
Yeah,
and I'm like, look what y'all doing,
yeah,
and everybody just don't have nothing to say about it.
yeah. I feel like the president, he's exciting the riots. I don't think he's even called them riots, has he?
No,
And the
I
fact that he has 14 days left, I'm like, kick him
yeah.
out of the White House.
He even told them like he loved them. He's like, I understand what y'all are doing. They stole the election from us, but go home. I'm like, you're egging them on, but then you're trying to tell them to go home.
Right. And while he's doing it, so to me, he's contradicting himself. He says, they stole the election, but go home. We need to be peaceful. So how do you say stole the election in one sentence and then be peaceful in another sentence?
Exactly. I'm like, he know what he doing. He like trying to portray to the media that he's trying to get them to leave, but he really not. He trying to like egg them up.
That's how I feel. And then like Candace Owens, I don't know if you've been on Twitter, that girl. She's trying to say this Antifa. Like she said, it's people that are perpetrating the MAGA, the
Oh
Trump
my god.
supporters. So do you feel like what do you feel about that?
I feel like it's Trump supporters because they're stupid to me. Like,
Flat
I'm
out,
sorry to say it like that.
huh? No. My thoughts are that I feel like if they look like us, like it's a picture of like a few of them climbing up walls, and I'm like, that would definitely say to shoot those monkeys down. That's what
Exactly. And I'm like, if it was us, we would have been dead. Like, we would have never even got that far in there.
exactly. Did you see the police officer taking a selfie?
Yes. Oh my. And then the one white man, he was chasing a security guard, and he
Yeah,
didn't even get touched.
exactly. He kind of like pushed him a little bit, and then like he just kind of backed up, and I'm like the cop is running for his life because he probably don't know what's going on. So, do you feel like it's an inside job? Like to me, I would feel like the security around the White House, I mean not the White House, the Capitol Hill would be top notch. I would think that somebody would be aware of something, some type of tip, something. I'm like, how did they get like into Nancy Pelosi's chair? There's a guy sitting in Nancy Pelosi's chair.
Yeah, I think it's an inside job. I think that some of them security guards was Trump supporters, and they was like in on it, and that's how they got in. Because I'm like, there's no other way they would have got in there.
I feel the same way. It's crazy, boy. And we won't get into talk to a lot, but I got a lot of things to say. And it's just crazy that there's a double standard in America, and it's like live for us to see. Like it's
Yeah.
live. Like we can flip on our TV and like people say, "Oh, there's no double standard." Okay,
And then there was this one video. I don't know if you've seen it. The security guard who was crying because
mm-mm.
they was like running up on him, and he was crying. And I was talking to my mom about it. I'm like, he literally fearing for his life, and he ain't pull out no gun.
Yeah, see, that's something ain't right. And then they said that some lady they like politely took her out of the Capitol Hill. Like, what are they? I just feel like it's okay. So I'll put it to you like this: it's one of us, and they feel threatened for their lives, right?
Right.
It's one of us, but it's how many of them, and they don't feel threatened?
Exactly. I'm like, they running up on y'all. But if we put our hands in our pocket, we getting shot.
So some just ain't right, and we can go on and on about this, and I'll talk about this probably even more. But like I said, to get into the episode, thank you, Key, thank you, Kiana, for taking time out of your day to speak with us. So listen to your episodes. I can't help but feel like I'm listening to me. Sometimes, sometimes our shows are so similar. So I've heard you speak about, like, I've listened to a few of your episodes, and I heard you speak about being told that if you do not go to college, you will not be successful. But I heard you say that you never had a desire to be like a desire to go to college, but you knew you wanted to be a boss, an entrepreneur since you were a child. So, what area of business did you decide to go into once you graduated high school, and why did you choose the area?
Well, when I first graduated, I I tried to be a makeup artist,
Okay,
and it was cool. I was really good at it, but like I didn't like it.
why not?
So it was just too time consuming. And then you got to deal with like clients and their attitudes, and it's just not for me.
I understand. I understand.
So then I tried to like think about what I wanted to do. And then I started praying and I asked God what He wanted me to do. And
Hmm.
then He had laid podcasting on my heart. So I was being obedient and I started a podcast.
Okay. Did you start any other businesses before that? Like, did you actually get any up and running?
No, just makeup.
Okay. Okay. So how long have you been podcasting?
Since like October, I think.
Okay. And how do you feel? Do you feel like you made the right choice?
Yeah, at first I didn't like it. But then like as I continued to do it, I actually grew to love it.
Why didn't you like it at first?
It just didn't seem like something that I would do because I'm not a talkative person. Like I'm really shy in person. So I was like, this is not something that's for my personality. But I started getting comfortable with it and like seeing feedback from people and I was like, oh, I do like this.
So how far in did it, like, that light bulb just click? Like, it just go up like, man, I'm good at this. Like, I'm
This
feeling this.
the second episode.
What? It didn't take long. What happened
Yeah.
So what happened during the second episode?
Well, I got a lot of feedback from my first episode and
Okay.
like everybody loved it. It was like they could just hear from the tone of my voice like how passionate I was. And so it had made me a little bit more comfortable the second episode because the first episode I was nervous.
Hmm.
But the second episode, I don't know. I just think it was all the love I was getting from people.
It's good to get love. It's good to get support. So, but back to like the college thing, like, like when we were kids, when we were in school, we hear our teachers say, like, if you don't go to college, you're not going to be successful. So, why do you feel like adults push that mentality on kids? Like, if you don't go to college, like, you're not going to be anything. And how were you able to stand your ground, like, against these adults, against your teachers, against family members, and say, like, I'm not going to college. I'm going to do my thing.
I think it's like some people they push that agenda because they were scared to achieve their dreams. So
Mm-hmm.
they try and like push it on you. And my mom was really like my biggest supporter. Like if it wasn't for her, I probably would have like just went to college and been doing something that I didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But she was like the main person who was like encouraging me, telling me that I should just do what's in my heart and what I think is right for me. So if I didn't have her, I probably would be in college right now.
Well, if you did go to college, what would you do? What do you think you would have majored in?
So I did think about going to college, like when my family was like pressuring me, and I was gonna go to be a nurse practitioner, a pediatric nurse practitioner,
And what made you go that direction?
because I like kids, I like pregnant women and stuff. So if I didn't have to do something with entrepreneurship, I would have definitely wanted to work with like pregnant women and children without being a doctor.
Okay. And so what would you say to like your teachers if they came up to you saying like I think you mentioned in your episode you gonna work at McDonald's or things like that. How would you like come back at somebody like that?
I would be like, look at me now. Look at how successful I am now. Like, I
Okay.
never worked at McDonald's a day in my life, and I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So how are you like helping anybody? Is there anyone else in your life that has come to you and maybe felt maybe they're teeter tottering like They people were kind of pushing that down their throat. Have you mentored anyone and kind of told them your story?
Yeah, I mentor a lot of my friends. I never really like stepped out with like strangers, but my friends come to me all the time for advice.
So tell me how you encourage them.
Well, my one friend, I actually wrote him out a whole business plan.
What?
And like, yeah, I like broke it down step by step to like really help him out. I was helping him find like funding for a business.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, I'm just that type of person where like people come to me and I feel like I got to do everything. Like, you're not going to have no questions after you work with me.
Okay, I mean that's good. That's good, and I feel like do you think that you can like make that into a business?
Yeah, I just think I got to stop self-doubting myself. Cuz I'm like I wrote him out a whole business plan, but then I was telling myself like that plan wasn't good enough. Like if I wanted to sell it, nobody would want it. Like I always self-doubt myself. So
Why
I would
you
have
do
to work
that?
on that. I don't know. I think it's like insecurities.
Mm-hmm. We all have them. Do you feel like they're not, you know where they're stemming from? Have you ever like reflected on that?
No, I would really have to work on that,
No, I just
figuring it out.
no, I understand. I think I heard you speak about your family and how you come up from a big family, and I can relate to, uh, kind of like starting things and not having the support. Like you feel like your family should be, with you thick and thin. But I kept listening. You said well, your father's family started supporting you, but how did that feel? Like, you think you said you started off and you dealt with like depression and kind of like wanting to give up, and how were you overcome that? Like, I just like that sounds like a like heavy on your mental health.
Yeah, I dealt with a lot of depression. I felt like I was like losing myself, like I didn't know what I wanted anymore. And it really, I got over it from getting into God.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to fast all the time. I used to read the Bible. I used to pray. And like I would see things in the Bible that would just like help me and like speak to me, and it was helping me like find myself again.
Were you raised in church?
Yeah, I was raised in church, but I got out of church when I was like 10.
Okay,
So I
fasting. No, I'm
just
just playing.
now
I just play.
I just now started getting back into God.
Okay. And so, how did you find your way back? Did you just decide, or one day maybe God spoke to you, somebody witnessed to you? How did it happen?
I just feel like everybody kept coming to me, and when I would like vent to them, they'd be like, "Why don't you talk to God?"
Hmm.
And so I kept hearing it. So I'm like, "Okay, let me be obedient and finally like build my relationship back up with him."
Okay. So after you like had that talk with God, and that did that help you like just automatically? Did it like the light bulb just turned off? It just kind of fixed everything, or was it a process?
It was definitely a process because I'm like I spent a lot of days and nights like crying, but it's like every time that I would get sad, God would just show me a sign. Like one day I was sitting on my couch just crying, and then this song popped up on my YouTube by Mary Can't Give Up Now.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it was weird because I don't listen to gospel music, so there was no reason for it to pop up, but it popped up. And I'm like, I knew this was God. And I just was listening to it and I was bawling my eyes out. But
Oh.
then I felt better afterwards. So I'm like, yeah,
Like that happens to me. So I'll say like with me, sometimes I'm praying about something and I could be watching SVU, I could be watching a movie, I could be watching anything, but I feel like for some kind of way God speaks to me. Have you ever had that? Like God may speak to you in a TV show, a movie, like you said, a song. Like have you like the weirdest thing? Have you experienced that before? Not just only like in a gospel song or something to deal with Christianity. Have you had like God speak to you in other things?
yeah, I had him speak to me in like blog posts because I'm a reader.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a lot of blogs, I read a lot of books. And like that would mainly be like the way that he will speak to me is like through a book or something. Or I could be reading like a fiction story, but the story relate to me in some type of way.
Okay. And another way I feel like I can relate to you is like, I think you mentioned something about being raised by your grandmother and spending a lot of time around her. And that I can relate because I spent a lot of time being raised by my grandmother. And I can say that you spoke about like the negativity, like the mindset of like scarcity, like mindset. And so how we had to overcome that because sometimes breaking generational curses and how the people around us, it's like a cycle. Like sometimes you get in that poverty mindset and the different mindsets that you broke down on one of your episodes. And how did you overcome that? It's like sometimes I think like I'm not gonna blame the generation, but sometimes in families it's just a negative cycle. It's like people not even trying to be negative. It's just that that is all they know. It's like you talk to
Yeah.
them, they could be the sweets. Like my grandma's a sweetheart, give you her last, but she would go off on you with the quickness. You'd be like, Grandma, like where is this coming from? So like how are you breaking the generational curses that you spoke about in your family?
Well, my grandma, she's sweet too, but she just think that black people cannot be like rich. Like
Mm-hmm.
we always got to be broke. We always got to be struggling. So I grew up thinking that I was broke and I was poor, even though I really wasn't because I never like wanted or needed for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really wanted to like prove to her like before she died, like I can be successful and I can be more than what you think that I can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really like my motivation to like keep going because I'm like I don't get mad at her and I don't blame her because I know that she was raised that way. Like she's
Yeah.
not intentionally trying to put that in my head. She just really think that.
Yeah, no, I'll give you an example. How like sometimes I ride around with my aunts. My aunt made a statement that like they built up these nice apartments, like these nice high rises, and she said those. She's like, this is probably quoting her verbatim. They made those for the white people, and I was like, what do you mean? What are you saying that black people don't have money that spends? It's like have you experienced that? Like those generations that are older, they'll say like they keep having those saying they feel like black people have still not arrived. They keep saying like we need to stay in our place.
Yeah. And I'm like it affect me a little bit because I'll be like thinking about in the future I want to get married and have kids and build a house in like a nice neighborhood. But
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes I'd be like, well, I'm black. I shouldn't be in that neighborhood. But I got to remind myself, like, you should be in that neighborhood. Like, why don't you
Yeah.
deserve to be in that neighborhood? But,
Yeah.
like, it still affect me. Like, I still have to work on it, but I'm still pushing through.
Yeah, I understand. I can understand that. Boy, it's just like I said. I don't think that, like, I don't think my grandma. I don't think my grandmother was trying to be negative. It's just how she was raised and like breaking a cycle. And it takes a conscious effort, a disciplined effort to constantly go against how you've been raised. And I feel like other people, like, you have to have a mindset to say that I'm not going to go this way. Everybody else might have went this way. They may have these expectations of me, but I'm gonna live my life how I choose to live it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so this is like random, but I just had to ask you. And so you're in Ohio and I heard you speak about Sweetest Day. And I'm like, Sweetest Day? What the devil is Sweetest Day? And so I looked it up. I got so excited. Like, I had to ask you this. So there's a holiday and I looked it up. It's like Ohio area and I googled it and it said that it's also celebrated in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And it's usually celebrated around sometime in October. And it's where the lady treats the man and makes him feel special and buys him nice things. So to me, I perceive this like the total opposite of like the Valentine, traditional Valentine theme where the woman is celebrated. So like my mind is like blown. Like can you break down this? Like I'm in St. Louis. Can you break down this Sweetest Day? Like Valentine's Day is close. Like it's about like a little over a month away. Can you break that down for the people that have no idea?
Yeah, it's crazy because I never knew that Sweetest Day was like an Ohio thing. Like, I thought Sweetest Day was everywhere until like I would travel and talk about it, and people would be like, what is Sweetest Day? But it's basically what you said. It's like Valentine's Day, but instead of the guy doing for the girl does for the guy.
I mean, but like, how is it? Like, is it commercials about like Valentine's Day when it comes out? Like they on there like with the woman, the man, like buying all this jewelry, buying these diamonds. Is it like that? Like, is it blown up like that?
Yeah, I mean, females they'll get a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do like rose petals and stuff. They'll take
Mm-hmm.
them out to eat. They'll buy them like a whole bunch of gifts. Like they just spoil their man.
But is it in the stores? Like, is it on the TV? Is it
Oh
like,
no,
oh,
no,
it's not like that?
no. Like you wouldn't see anything in stores for Sweetest Day.
So what kind of holiday? So
I don't know how to explain it.
do people like celebrate it or
Everybody's like celebrates it. Like if you go out to eat on Sweetest Day, it's packed. Every single restaurant.
is it like special? I'm just trying to get I'm trying to get, can you like break it down today? Like what would, like how would it be?
I don't know. It's like you got a boyfriend, you just
Mm-hmm.
you whatever you want to do for him. If you want to take him out to eat, if you want to get a room, if you want to take him out of town, if you just want to like buy him some jewelry, a new
Mm-hmm.
chain or something, like you just spoil your man.
So do you all celebrate Valentine's Day?
Yeah,
Okay.
we
So
celebrate both. But
okay.
normally here is like if he didn't do anything for you on Valentine's Day, normally the girl don't do anything for him on Sweetest Day.
What?
Like they be playing get back, like or if she don't like her gift for Valentine's Day, he ain't getting nothing for Sweetest Day.
Okay. So do like with the schools, do y'all like do they have parties for it? I'm just trying to understand. Like they Valentine card for the kids to give to like the little boys, the girls give.
No, okay. You know how they have like those national holidays that you never know about until that day comes.
Yeah. So it's one of those.
Yeah, it's like that. Except for it's a little bit more known, so you know when it's coming, but it's not like a huge holiday. It's just like a national day.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to get
But I
some.
guess it ain't national because don't nobody know about it.
Well, like I said, did you know that Ohio, did you know that Michigan, because like I said, I Googled it. It says Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana. Did you know that they celebrated it?
No. Well, at first I thought everybody celebrated it, but then everybody just made it seem like it was just an Ohio thing.
Oh, maybe it's more bigger. Cause like I mean I'm in Missouri, St. Louis, so we can like literally cross over to Illinois, certain parts of it. And so maybe it may be certain parts of like Illinois and maybe certain parts of Indiana. I don't know. Like I didn't really look into it, but I was like a person when you mentioned it, I was like, man, I gotta ask her about this. This is crazy. Yeah. But no, I said so. So like your podcast. So can you tell the listeners a little bit more about your podcast? Like what if they? Why should they listen to Discussions with Key?
So I'm really like trying to rebrand my podcast, and I want to make it more like a therapy session.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about things that maybe people need to go to therapy for, but they can't afford to go to therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna like give them tips and advice and like offer worksheets and like homework for them to do to really help them like like instead of just telling them I know you have this problem, you need help, I'm gonna help them move
Mm-hmm.
on and heal from it.
So why do you think mental health is important?
Because I struggled with mental health like since my freshman year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it really like affected me where I almost didn't graduate.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know if I should talk about that, but I even tried to commit suicide twice.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
So I kind of like it took me a long time to get over it. So
How did
I
you?
really like try and help people with their mental health.
Did you have anyone that was there? I don't want trying to get too personal, but did you have anyone to point you to mental health, like to take care of your mental health?
I had a lot of people who was like there for me through that whole process. But the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that when I wanted to commit suicide, I didn't want to actually kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted the pain to go away. And
Yeah.
a lot of people couldn't understand that. And it's like I had people who would literally take off work, take off school, and they would just sit at my house just to make sure I didn't do anything. And they would sit there for like hours. But at the time, I didn't realize they're sitting there because they love you and
Mm-hmm.
they want to see you get better. So I had a good support system. It's just I was so messed up that I couldn't see it.
No, I mean, do you feel like okay? So I said in the black community, it's like a stigma. It still is. I mean, it's better. It's better today that more black people I feel like are talking about their emotions, talking about their mental health. Because like I said, we talked about previous generations and how sometimes they just like keep everything, you just pray about it, you just talk to Jesus
Yes.
about it. And so and no, I'm a Christian, so I'm all about Jesus, but sometimes I know with me, I'm in therapy, and so I didn't know the things that I know now that I've been in therapy, like the thought pattern, the why I think like I think, how are all these things in my life connected, and it's a pattern. And so when you speak to like a therapist, they point out the pattern and they kind of help you like almost reprogramming your mind. And were you initially all for therapy, or were you like, man, like I'm gonna deal with this, I'm gonna pray about it? Because like being raised in the church, just Jesus gonna help me. That's all I need.
Yeah, I never wanted to go to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom and my dad, they wanted me to talk to somebody so bad. They told my school counselor, and she kind of like upset at me too because they told her that I tried to kill myself and she wanted to talk to me. And when I went in there to talk to her, she was like smiling and laughing. And I'm like, this not funny. Like, and I think that's another reason why I really didn't want to talk to nobody, because everybody around me, they don't take mental health seriously. Like,
Yeah.
even in schools, I'm telling you that I tried to kill myself and you ain't do nothing about it.
So she didn't get you no type of resources or anything.
No, she was like, we're going to get you some help, but she never tried.
Wow. So then what did you look to? Like, did your parents seek outside sources, resources?
I had wind up leaving that school and homeschooling for a year, and I was just talking because what I was going through, I had an older cousin who was like married and everything, like she's really older. And I guess she went through the same thing, so they wanted me to talk to her. And
Mm-hmm.
she's actually a preacher.
Okay.
So she really helped me a lot with getting through it and healing from it.
So man, you sound like a strong person. Like you have a purpose because you're still here. Like
Yeah.
you have a purpose, and have you ever thought about that? Like man, like I'm here for a purpose. Do you know what your purpose is?
No, I wish I did, but no.
So how are you seeking out? How are you seeking to find it? Will you just know? You just know that you know, or what are you doing to find out your purpose?
I really haven't been focused on me though. Like I feel like my focus has been on helping other people that I really be forgetting to help myself sometimes. So I don't really be like, what's my purpose? I should find my purpose. I don't know.
Okay, so I'll say, give you a story. I said that I was working at a job for almost 13 years, but probably like the halfway point when I was like 7 years in, 6 years in, I was like, man, I hated going to this job. Like I hated pulling up to it. I mean, it was easy. It came easy to me. I knew how to do it, but I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy doing it. And so I started, like I made excuses because when I graduated high school, I went to college, but it's like I dropped out, life happened. I found me a job. I thought I was making a reasonable amount of money at 19. And I was like, I stopped going. So I worked at like job after job after job and not, there's never feeling fulfilled. And like when you don't know your purpose, to me, for me, I never felt fulfilled. And so um I was talking to a friend at work. He wasn't taking my excuses because I had messed up my financial aid. I had got all F's, and I was like, I can't go back. These people are not going to help me. He was like, but have you tried? But have you tried? He wouldn't take any of my excuses. And so finally, I was like, you know what? He has a point. So I went, tried to roll back in school. I thought I was going to go into pharmaceutical industry because that is where my job was. And so I'm like, I tried that, but then like I had been teaching Sunday school. I had been teaching vacation Bible school. I had been working around kids. I had been doing all of this stuff, but like for some reason, the light bulb never went off that I was supposed to be a teacher. And so I was in the counselor's office, and they were talking to me about this pharmaceutical program, and I was like, "Show me the math program, like for teaching math, because I had fell in love with math from a professor at school." And so I had fell in love with math, and I'm like, "Show me the math program." And I tell you, Key, like I feel like angels were playing. I tell this story all the time. I feel like somebody has some choir of angels up in the air that were playing some harps, and it just clicked to me like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And now that I'm doing it, I have never been happier. It's like I, even though like the kids sometimes it's rough, sometimes it's like, man, this is stressful, but like I'll do it again the next day and I'll do it again the next day because it makes me happy. And so I feel like when we find our purpose, then we know we can feel fulfilled, because sometimes we can be doing a bunch of things and not feel like anything, like numb to it, like numb to like I'm getting up, I'm going to work, I'm getting a check. And so, would you agree with that? Would you feel that we cannot, we will not be completely happy, or really like joy, full of joy, happy until we find our purpose?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's funny because I have a similar story with the job thing. Because when I graduated, I got a job at Signet Jewelers, and it's a really good job. Like they pay a lot, and I was able to like get my own car and stuff. And I really could have been working there for the rest of my life, but I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to a point where I was getting depressed, and I didn't want to go. And when I was there, I wasn't like doing as good as I should have. And everybody there could see that I was depressed because they would always ask me like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't want to be here. Like, it's a
Mm-hmm.
good
Yeah,
job, but
yeah.
it's not for me." But I wound up getting fired.
Oh wow. Do you feel
So
like
I'm
that
like,
was the best thing to happen to you?
at first, no, because I couldn't pay my bills.
Okay.
But then it was weird because when they fired me, I was smiling. But then when it hit me, like, "Oh, you can't pay your bills," I start crying.
Okay.
But I'm like, the fact that my reaction initially was smiling and happy and joy, I was like, that job wasn't for me.
And you feel like you knew you were doing the right thing. Sometimes we gotta get hit in our head, like something gotta happen. Like sometimes we gotta have that big shift in life because would you have walked out on that job if you didn't get fired?
No,
And so do you, I feel like everything happens for a reason. And thank you for being vulnerable. I should have said that. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your experience and what you went through when you were in high school because somebody out there needs to hear it. And so I'm glad that you said that. And that might be what other people think. Like suicide isn't that you really want to kill yourself. It's like you want to kind of get rid of the pain. Would you say that that's probably how most people feel, or would you kind of think that like that's like individual to your story?
I think that's how most people feel. But I feel like suicide is just like, it's a sensitive topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when you do come around someone who is suicidal, you just kind of like brush them off, be like, get some help, but you don't really try and figure out why are you suicidal.
Why do you think people don't want to talk about it?
I don't know. Like, I remember when I was suicidal and I had a male friend and I was trying to like vent to him, he was like, oh, you're on that white people shit.
Oh,
And I was like, what does suicide have to do with white people? Like, why can't black people be suicidal? And why do black people have such an issue talking about suicide?
yeah. I feel like black people have an issue talking about a lot of things. I struggle with
Yeah.
anxiety. I struggle with a lot of things. It's just that that's why I feel like we just say like, pray to Jesus and everything will be okay. And I feel like yes, Jesus will help us. We need Jesus. We need Christ, to believe that there's a higher power than us. But I
Yeah.
feel like God made therapists for a reason. We have doctors, we have
Mhm.
lawyers, we have all of those. So why are those okay?
And then I'm like, sometimes when you pray to God, He leads you to someone to help you.
Yeah.
So if I'm praying to God about being suicidal, maybe He wants to lead me to a therapist.
True. 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 Boy, I feel like you have a great story to share and keep on sharing your story. I thank you for taking the time to speak with us. And how can the people follow you? How can the people keep in contact with you? What do you have coming up on the discussions with Key? Just share your social media handles and what you got coming up.
So my Instagram is at Discussions with Key.
Hmm.
And on my podcast, I'm going to be talking more about relationships and abusive relationships.
Okay, can you give us a little snippet? Not a lot, but like a little snippet of what we can.
So my episode Monday that's coming out, um, I'm going to be talking about signs that your partner is abusive,
Okay.
because I feel like I've seen a lot of abusive relationships in my life, so I can tell when there's like signs that this person is going to abuse you. So I'm going to be sharing about that.
Hmm. No, I feel like you do your work. That's why I said listening to you. It sounds like sometimes it's creepy. It's like it sounds like me. And I'm not not trying to be funny or anything like that. It's like the way you do your episodes, the way you speak, the way you care, the way you're trying to help people. I feel like listeners out here like follow discussions with Key. I fell in love with her like looking at your like affirmations or your like encouragement that you drop. You drop like almost every day, right? Or
Monday through Friday.
okay, yeah. So she drops in low. So follow her. Like if you're looking for some encouragement, some motivation, follow discussions with Key. And so before we let go, was there like a quote or a scripture or anything you want to share with the listeners?
Well, I just want to say I feel like in today's society, too many people want to be fake.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Instagram is like a big example of that. Like, everybody wants a fake body, everybody wants to make it seem like their life is together, but nobody wants to talk about like real issues that people go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to create a platform where we can actually discuss these things and give you tips to like heal from them, and like allow you to be yourself.
No, that's man. I feel like we need it. I agree with you. Social media has made us think that everybody's perfect and they're not. I always say that people post what they want you to see. they don't
Yeah.
post they don't post the negative stuff. So I totally agree with you. Again, thank you. Thank you for taking time to speak with us today. I've enjoyed your conversation. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your story. I feel like somebody needs to hear it. And you all know that I cannot leave you all without quoting my favorite scripture found in Jeremiah 29 and 11. For I know the thoughts I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil to give you an expected end. God's going to bring us to our expected end, you and me. And oh, yeah, I always forget to say this. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell so your notifications can come on. All right. If you're listening on Apple, go ahead and drop that dope review. All right. So until next time, nice to meet you. Let's go.